This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media and the Rule Classroom, sponsors of the 2025 Rule Natural Resources Investment Symposium, July 7 through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida, or via live stream from the comfort and convenience of your own home. A couple things you need to know about the conference. The first is that we're going to give you well over 50 hours of valuable but dense programming in 4 days. More programming than you can possibly absorb in the 4 days that we're going to give it to you. To that end, conference recordings, full conference recordings will be available to all attendees, either live or live stream. But further to that end, we've learned in 30 years of doing the conference to interview every exhibitor before the conference and every speaker before the conference so that you can familiarize yourself with the subjects and allocate your time and your resources more efficiently at the conference. A couple of other things that you need to know. The first is that every public company exhibitor at the conference has been referred in and is owned, every single one, owned in accounts owned or managed by myself. The two companies in this interview being no exception. The fact that the exhibitors are all vetted and the fact that we spread out the conference over the 3 months before the conference allows me to make you, the attendee, an extraordinary offer. If for any reason whatsoever you don't think that we gave you your money's worth attending the conference, either live or live stream, you have an unconditional money-back guarantee. Now, having put on the conference for 30 years, I'm proud to tell you that we've had to refund less than 0.1% of the tuitions that we've charged. That notwithstanding, from a financial point of view, attendance at this conference is riskless to you. So let's begin the process. Today, I have two new friends introduced to me by an old friend, Frank Justra, who is no stranger to the Rule Classroom. Gentlemen, beginning with you, Ian, but then moving on to you, Joaquin, please introduce yourselves. Tell us something about how you came to run these companies, and tell us, too, what level of expertise you have that lends credibility to the answers to the nosy questions that I'm going to present to you in a minute. Ian, we'll begin with you.
Thanks, Rick. So the quick version is, by background, I'm a mining engineer. I'm almost 30 years now in the industry, 20 of those living in South America. And what really, I think, connects my history with Libero is I was previously at Corriente Resources, ran that project in country. It sold for $690 million. Mirador went on to be the first industrial scale mine in the history of Ecuador. I stayed on after that transaction as chief engineer, started that construction of that project, and it's in the Jurassic Porphyry Belt. And that was the attraction to Libero. Our key asset is the Mocoa asset in Colombia, which is a very large porphyry in the Jurassic Porphyry Belt. So the idea of bringing Colombia its first large-scale copper operation and kind of do it again and repeat the lessons learned was the attraction to Libero.
And Joaquin.
Well, thank you, Rick. I am a geologist from Argentina. Probably you will notice that I have some kind of an accent. So I am actually living in Vancouver, but I used to work in Argentina and some other countries. I have been for almost 15 years in the mining industry, and I have a lot of experience working in different provinces in the country. So I'm very used to the regulations and the people and community and government and the issues of Argentina. I have been for the last 3 years working in the Fiore Group, and mostly advising and trying to help with different things related to South America. And finally, we got El Quebar project that it's located in the north of the province of Salta in Argentina. So this is a kind of a leveraging point for all of us, having me in the equation that I know very well the country, and that was a great opportunity for all of us when I put together a team very, very quickly to start running this new company that it's called Argenta Silver.
This will be a very familiar discussion with many of our attendees. If you go back in time, my clients and myself collectively were the largest shareholders of Corriente, which was a very pleasant experience for us. Of course, we go back with Frank Justra before the Fiore Group for probably 30 years. And as to Argentina, we go back to Patricio Jones, Ricardo Martinez, the Lundin family, Argentina Gold. Argentina has been a wonderful country for us. So now that we've all got to know each other, let's get into it. Ian, I'm going to start with you. The task at hand, I guess, is drilling off, exploring, permitting, and developing a copper porphyry, if my understanding is correct, down in Putumayo, the part of Colombia most proximal to your former stomping grounds, Ecuador. Perhaps you could give us an overview of Libero. In particular, start with the market cap so that people understand what they're paying for the assets that you later describe.
Yeah, so I'm going to start a little bit backwards too, is that if you look into the future of Dr. Copper, right, you see a huge demand requirement and then there's not a whole lot moving forward. So if we want to fill that demand, we need projects that can get advanced fairly quickly. The Mocoa project currently has over 600 million tons of resource and over 8 billion pounds of copper equivalent in the ground already, and we're trading at a $15 million market cap. And so perhaps a word I learned from you, but there's a bifurcation within market of projects that are advancing and not advancing. So we have done all the work to get the groundwork done at Colombia, and now we're doing it. So it's about taking the transition and showing that this project is moving forward. And a big task of myself is demonstrating this is way bigger than the 600 million tons. We had to do that resource estimate because of the transaction of the acquisition, right? But it is a much bigger project, and we've recently brought in a second drill to really be able to take some of those higher risk, larger step outs, test some of the new porphyry centers, and bring to market demonstrating this project is moving forward and will be moving forward fast.
For the record, is that $15 million number US dollars or Canadian dollars?
That is Canadian dollars. And it depends on the time of day too, right? But we're going between about 12 and $18 million. But I think that we are at the crux of when things will start moving.
Let's move back to the deposit. When might we know? When might we get a sense of the scope of the deposit? I understand that you're embarking on fairly aggressive exploration now. And I take it from your point of view, the principal unanswered question right now is simply how big is this thing? Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I think that if you look at maybe the say top 5 projects, and when you look at top 5 projects that are near surface, right, is another question, right? That's a very small group, but the world wants big. They want that 2 billion tons, and maybe a project. Once you get to that mark, it might still even be bigger than that. But that is what we're aiming for. We're aiming to prove out that it is at least that big. And I think I believe that there is a belief that it is, right? So Rick, and really it's in terms of getting closer, of de-risking and showing and proving whether it is an exploration target or then it actually becomes resource, or we're showing a pathway to get there. But that is all what it's about right now, is demonstrating and advancing and getting more confidence that this project can be much, much larger.
And tell me something about your success dealing with the, let's call it interesting sociology of Putumayo. The fact is that you were successful politically in excising your ground from a reserve, but Putumayo traditionally has been a pretty tough place. Talk to me about how you operate in the context of the social licensing.
There's only been 4 big, large copper projects built in the last 10 years. 5, it matters if you say 11 years, right? 2 of them in Peru, 1 in Ecuador, Mirador, 1 in Panama, Cobre Panama, and 1 in the DRC, right? Ernie Mast is the other director, is a director of, and he was CEO of Inmet's Cobre Panama, right? So we share an experience, and I think you could argue in every single one of those cases, it took a window of political will that was created. And that political will was always created and started from the ground, right? And so I believe that we have a formula of what it takes to get it done. I am fluent in Spanish. I live in Medellin. I am close to the project because I know this is probably the most important part about advancing a project, is creating extremely strong relationships locally. Not that people like you, not that they support you, but they have extremely strong, you create relationships, and that's what drives the project over a long period of time. And yeah, it hasn't been easy. It took us 2 years to get to the point where we are today, but we've created, and it's little things. It's like not buying your boots from Bogota, but we make them locally, right? Those are every little ones, or these little pieces of the pod that are required to create a base that allows you to create a relationship where you're co-developing a project. right? And there's a belief it's as much Libero's as it is theirs because they're involved in it.
Listeners who are concerned about political risk in copper might take note of the fact that Rio Tinto and BHP have been trying to develop the Resolution deposit in the People's Republic of Arizona for 26 years. Political risk isn't confined to countries south of the border. So tell us something about the next steps. Tell us how much cash they're going to take, how much you have, and if there's a gap, how you're going to get the balance.
Sure, absolutely, Rick. And I would also add in Colombia, it's had a bad rap right recently, but we are definitely advancing in this time period. But presidential elections are coming up in 14 months, right? So it's a gap that's closing, right? And I think that's why you see Rio Tinto, you see Freeport-McMoRan, you see Anglo American are all positioning themselves within Colombia right now because I think that things will change dramatically. And that's what worked in Ecuador, finding a window to be able to get these projects through. And so that as the backdrop, the next big step for me is obviously we have to show the size potential of the project. How much bigger can this thing be? But it's also getting it developed so that it's ready and you're putting some numbers around it, like towards a PEA so that you have a defined project to present to a new president, right? So our current annual spend is about $12 million Canadian, right? And at our current market cap, you can understand our number one goal is to develop and gain traction and getting re-rated to what a lot of other projects are currently rated at. We're about 0.1 cent per pound in the ground, and I think advancing projects are about at least a cent in the ground. So we think there's a high opportunity to create and graduate into the other bifurcated group, right? So yeah, we are going to have to develop and advance. I think we put out news today. Frank has doubled down on his current position. He's increasing his position and pushing and putting his muscle behind it. But we will have to be raising money. I think, before summertime would be the ideal time period for us. But I think we're on that curve of where value is really starting to be created dramatically at Libero. We're not talking 20% increases. Between 0.1 and 1 cent is a 10x, right? So we have a lot of opportunity to create value for our shareholders if we pull this off.
Mr. Marias, tell us something about Argenta. The name suggests that you're in Argentina. Your background suggests you're in Argentina. Give us an overview of Argenta.
Okay, so Argenta, it's a really new company. It was created in the last few months of 2024. So it was created with the goal of be a pure silver company, and we are obviously focused in Latin America. We created the company after acquiring El Kvar project, which is a pure silver play. As I was saying, it's located in the north of Salta province. This is a pure play that has a 45.3 million ounces of silver on the indicated category and 4.1 million ounces of silver on the inferred category at a very, very high grade. And it's one of the most extensive or large areas for exploration in the country. Our land package is 57,000 hectares, and only 4% of it has been explored. And it was dormant for almost 10 years. So now we are trying to wake up a giant. We are working really hard to build a very solid and robust basis on which we will be building more on the future.
The story should bring smiles to the rural classroom face, given our experience over the last 3 years with Abra Silver, a similar story in northern Argentina. Yes. That has been rewarded with some success. I assume that you're up in the Salta Highlands, sort of in the, if you will, the lithium triangle. Is that accurate?
That's correct, Rick. And that's why these projects are so, let's say, feasible to manage in a province like this, because the lithium industry brought a lot of experience to government and communities. And that's a very great advantage to be in a jurisdiction like this, where everybody understands what's happening, not only the government, but as well the communities. And the Abra Silver case, coming to your point, it's a case that I bring every time to the conversation, because 5 or 6 years ago, they were in the same exact position where we are now. But with the difference that we have over $60 million of infrastructure in the project already built. So we have 60 kilometers of internal roads, a camp for 100 people that it's a camp made of modules and not tents, plus a lot of infrastructure that we have on the heart of the exploration area. So all this, it's adding value to what is coming next, right?
So what's the Canadian dollar market cap I'm paying for this silver and this infrastructure?
So at this moment, our market cap it's around $40 million Canadian, but we bought this asset for 10 cents per ounce in the ground. We paid $3.5 million on the acquisition that happened in September, and as I was telling before, I was moving myself very very fast. So in less than 60 days, we already had the asset in our hands. So 10 cents on the ground, that's what we paid. And today we have a market cap of 40 million.
In the exploration business, we at the classroom like to ask the CEO, what is the most proximal, the nearest unanswered question? What is it that you can do in exploration that will increase the market certainty with regards to your asset? And how long will that take? In other words, when might we expect that your thesis, your exploration thesis, will begin to become demonstrated to the market?
So for the Macoa project in Libero, that's fairly easy. Our project, our easiest one to say, correlates to size potential and valuation is Solaris's Lorenza. The difference is they're 3 times bigger. So demonstrating the Macoas could be 3 times bigger is our next compelling question. That's why we recently mobilized the second drill. It should be showing up to site now. And over the next few months, we'll be starting to answer that question. So we are in that window of near-term news of when we'll be able to answer that compelling question very soon.
Joaquin?
Yeah, for us, it's pretty much the same. We have this comparison with Abra Silver, and we know what is the road that they took, and that's the road that we are going to take. As the same, we are looking to the past of the project, and we see the mistakes from previous operators. So we have already learned about the story of the project, the history of the project, and the idea here is to multiply by X amounts the million ounces of silver that we have. And we believe that it's going to take us similarly to the same time that it took to Abra to get where they are now, that it's around 270 million ounces of silver. So it's a matter of adding ounces. But I want to add something, Rick, and I think that you always teach this. It's not only about ounces, because you could have as many ounces as you want, but they could be in places that are impossible to mine, or they could be all scattered away in the landscape. And it's not only the ounces. We have all the ounces so far in only one deposit, in only one place, plus all the infrastructure that we have. It's not a really high altitude project compared to other projects in the high plains. So this is a very, very compelling story. We want the people to understand more about that. So we will be pleased to talk to more people and to contact more people to explain them about this story, that it's a great story to tell.
I'm highly confident, gentlemen, that this video and those that follow it in the real classroom and the conference will cause a lot of exploration speculators to be interested in talking to you. We have been in and around Frank Juster's transactions, I'm embarrassed to say, for 4 decades, and I hope I have another 4 decades in me. But anyway, to the extent that our listeners, and in particular our attendees, would like to know more about your companies so that they can allocate their time and resources at the conference more efficiently, who specifically do they contact, and how exactly do they contact this person? Ian, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest contacting me directly, especially anybody who comes from Rick. So my email is harris@liberocopper.com. Or also, because I live in Colombia, anybody who uses WhatsApp, just send me a message on WhatsApp. My phone number is 1-303-956-2944. I love telling the story. I love sharing the story and would love to engage with existing and potential shareholders.
Senor Marias?
The same for me. I invite everybody to the discussion. I really want to talk to people. I enjoy telling the story. So please contact me. I am the best person to talk with about Argenta Silver. I'm one of the creators of this, so I'm very passionate of the story. So please contact me. My email is jm@argentasilver.com. And as well, I live in Vancouver. So if you want to WhatsApp me, that's the best way because sometimes I'm in the project as well. So my number is +1 778 319 2415, and I will be very happy to answer any questions.
Gentlemen, thank you for your decades of efforts on behalf of mining investors. Thank you in particular for your support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. I look forward to hosting both of you in Boca Raton, July 7 through 11.
Thanks, Rick.
Hope to see you soon, Rick. Thank you.